Hey everybody, I'm Zee Garcia, and today I'm taking a look at a two-player worker placement game called Targi. This game came out originally in 2012, but it's just now been reprinted by KOSMOS in English, and so you should be able to get your hands on it now or very soon. And like I said, it's a two-player only worker placement game in which you are going to be deploying your workers, gathering resources, and then turning around and using those resources to buy specific tribe cards and build up your tableau in front of you, score victory points, that sort of thing. I'm going to give you a look at how it all works together. We'll come on back after that, and I'll tell you what I think of this two-player game. So here we have what the game might look like at the end of setup. Every player is going to start with a few resources. You have your 3 workers, your 2 cylinders here, and we've got the rest of the components set aside, ready to play. The spaces around the outside, the 16 cards on the outside, are going to track both the progression of the game, so the turns, but also those are the places where you are going to deploy your workers. And then the cards in the center you'll be acquiring as well, and those are right now set up in an alternating pattern between goods cards, these that give you some sort of good, and the tribe cards that are going to give you a specific amount of victory points. They are going to have a symbol here, a cost, sometimes a specific power, whether it be in-game power or end-game scoring. And so you are ready to begin. Each round goes like this. You are going to move the robber here to the next card in the line on the outside of the track. During the first round, you simply put it on the number 1, the noble card there. And then you are ready. Our star player is going to be blue over here. And on your turn, during the next phase, you are going to deploy a worker to any of the cards on the outside, except the corners. You cannot go to the corners, which are raids, and you cannot go where the robber is. After you've placed a few, you can also not go across from another piece. So here, for example, I'm going to go on my first placement right here to this one. Then it'll be my opponent's turn, and they can play right now anywhere except the corners, of course, where this robber is, or directly across from me. They cannot go there either. So they're going to go right there. Comes back to me. I'm going to go here, let's say, and then goes back to the opponent, who is going to play here. Now across from the robber, that's fine, just not across from another player piece. And then finally I go again. I have these 2 spaces available and these 2 spaces available here. So I'm going to go to this one, and then my opponent can go here or here. They are going to go to this one, let's say. And that's it. Once we've done that, we check where our pieces intersect, and we're going to put these out there. So these 2 meet on that card. These 2 meet on that card. Same thing for my opponent. They meet on that one and on that one. And once that's done, then you actually take the actions you've selected, starting from the start player. And you can do this however you want to, in whatever order you want to. So for example, the cards on the outside, if I remove this worker, I get pepper. So I'm going to go ahead and take one and add it to my supply. I'm going to take this one off as well, and I get salt for that. I'll take that and add it to my supply. This one here tells me I draw a goods card and I get whatever it says. By the way, all of these cards on the outside have a symbol or symbology on one side, but they have a text explanation on the back as well. You can play with either side you would like. So I will go ahead and draw a goods card, flip it. Look at that, I get pepper and salt for that one. So I'll take 1 of each. And now I'll go ahead and do these actions in the middle. So I'm going to go and take this one. I get any one of the ones. I'll go ahead and take the dates. And then I remove the card. This is one of the goods cards. So I'm going to replace that empty spot with the opposite card. Just face down for right now. This one is discarded. And then this other one, this tribe card, I can either build it right now for the cost of the top, and I put it in my display. I'll show you that. Or I could take it into my hand, and I can carry over 1 card in my hand. I can kind of lock that one in my hand, hold it for later on. But I'll go ahead and build it right now. The display in front of me is going to be, at most, 3 rows and 4 columns. So I could have this one with a card below it and a card below that, and this line could grow out 4 cards long, the next one same thing, and the next one after that same thing. So 12 cards at most in front of me. And in fact, one of the endgame triggers is getting to 12 tribe cards in front of you. The other endgame trigger is simply having the robber here move all the way around the board back to card 16. That also is going to end the game. So I'm going to go ahead and pay for that. It costs date and a coin. I give those back, and I build that in front of me. This one is going to be a victory point at the end of the game. It has that symbol, the oasis there. And it also has a power that says you may place one of your Targi figures on the card occupied by the robber. So from now on, I can ignore that rule that says I cannot play right here. Now this goes to my opponent. I replace this with the opposite card again. The opponent is going to take that one and get their pepper. They are going to take this one and take their date. They are going to take this one off. Again, you can do this in whatever order you want to. You get a victory point for that. And there's a pile of these tokens that are victory points. You begin with 4 victory points. So they'll take that, discard the card, replace it with the opposite. They are going to then, this card here allows me to trade sets of the same goods. I can trade 3 of the same for a coin. I can trade 2 of the same for a different good. And so I could do that. I'm going to go ahead and acquire this first, though. It's going to be 1 salt, 2 pepper, 2 dates. And I give those back into the supply. And I could take this, build it, and replace it. And then lastly, this one, I no longer have 2 of the same or 3 of the same, so I'm actually not going to be able to take that action. So I can just come off of it and not do it, all right? And sometimes you'll do that because you want the cross section in the middle to land on a card you want without really caring about the action you selected on the outside, or vice versa. Sometimes you really want the action. You don't care where the pawn ends up in the center. So once this is done, we go to the next round. You do have to check. You have a limit of resources and coins you can carry over from round to round. Pass the start player marker to the other person. Move this 1 space. And then flip everything that's in the board face up so it's all available again. And you begin with placing your workers back and forth. You know, putting your tokens in the center once there's crossing. Let's see, I'm going to go there. And this one's going to go there, let's say. You mark your intersections like so. And then you play out another round. Whenever the robber gets to the corners, you're going to be rated, both players. And you have to give something up. In this first one, a good or a victory point. Then 2 goods or a victory point. Then 3 goods or 2 victory points. And lastly, a coin or 3 victory points, assuming you get to it. Again, if you get to 12 cards in front of you first, that'll trigger the end of the game. And your score is going to come from a couple of different things. You'll have collected these throughout the game, so that's going to be some victory points right there. But also at the end of the game, your display in front of you, if a line of cards has 4 of the same symbol, so if I get Oasis, Oasis, and 2 more, that's going to be worth 4 victory points to me. If all of the symbols are different in the line, no repeats whatsoever, then I'm going to get 2 victory points for that. And that's pretty much how you score the game and how you win. What you manipulate, what you take, the special actions you want, the specific symbols you'd like, and then, of course, keeping track of your resources and so on. So let me just very briefly tell you about the powers on the outside, and at that point, you'll have a really good idea of how the game goes. So over here, you get to either play a card you've been holding on to because you took one of these tribe cards and held it, or you get to discard the one you've been holding because you want to make space in your hand to hold a new one. These are straightforward. This I already explained. These are also straightforward. That one, if you go here, you get to take one of the pawns in the center and move it to another unoccupied space. Great way to get to a card that your opponent blocked you from getting to. This one here lets you give up same types of goods or coins to straight up buy victory points. This one here you already saw. You just get to top deck a goods card and get what you get. This one is similar, but for the tribes, you get to draw the top one. If you can build it right now, go ahead and build it. If you want to hold it, you can hold it, assuming your hand's empty. If not, you can just discard it. And then this one is just salt as well. So that's pretty much all there is to it. There's, like I said, quite a few of these cards. They have different symbols, victory points, but sometimes they do have powers. Like this one says, you no longer have to surrender anything during a raid. That's extremely powerful. It's only 1 victory point though, and the coins, which are fairly hard to come by, this is going to cost a coin and salt and pepper. And, you're going to get this one here. Says, at the end of the game, you receive 1 additional victory point for every 2 Targi cards in your display, which is one of these specific symbols. And so there's going to be some synergies there as well. Let's see. This one, immediately after displaying this card, you receive a one-time bonus of 3 goods of your choice, 1 gold, or 1 victory point. Some of them, like I said, are immediate effects. Some of them are endgame scoring. Some of them just change the rules for you a little bit. But that's pretty much all there is to Targi. Hopefully, that's clear enough that you understand how this is going to play out. Let's go back up top. Let me tell you what I think of it. So there you go, that is Targi. Let's talk about it. I'm going to start with thematic ties. Is the theme original? Is it well implemented? I would say it's probably, neither one of those things is probably true, right? The theme does not feel like it stands out to me. I don't find myself captivated by the thematic implications of what I'm doing. And honestly, it's a fairly mechanical game. It's one in which, building a tableau of 4 cards across, 3 cards down. There being scoring opportunities based on, symbols, arbitrary symbols. None of that really makes any thematic sense. This is not the kind of game you're going to want to, A, use the theme to teach, or B, show up at the table to enjoy because you found yourself so engrossed by the thematic ties. Having said that, the aesthetics, component quality, congruent artwork. I like the artwork in this game. I think the cards are good quality, and I like all of the tokens and all of the pawns and everything. There's not a lot of components here. It is largely cards, but what's in the box is good quality, and I like the artwork as well. Replayability. Does the game give you new things to discover from session to session? I would say this game has quite a bit of replayability. There's all the actions on the outside. It will take you a few plays to know when to utilize which ones. And on top of that, you've got different ways you can go. You can simply, worry about building up that tableau with high-scoring cards, forget about the special powers, and manipulate the cards on the outside, the worker placement spots, that give you victory points, and just buy those up throughout the game. You can not do that. You can try to give yourself a boost in-game for powers, and just hope to make up points simply because you are more powerful than your opponent. You have the ability to, as you saw in the overview, ignore the rating. You have the ability to score bonus points from things that don't apply to your opponent, that sort of thing. So the replayability, I would say, is high. Game length, does it stay interesting the whole time? Does the game get repetitive? I think it's definitely interesting. I think there is progression built into the game. I like the cadence of having the raids come up. You can see them coming, and so you can, if you are being careful, prepare for them. Building up the tableau and running out to 16 cards, so the 2 endgame conditions are well balanced in my opinion, so I find the game can end either by one or the other. Sometimes you really want the tableau to get built before you get to the final raid, the 4th raid, because it's pretty punishing. And so I don't find that the game outstays its welcome. It's also nice to have the thief, the raider, I guess, moving around and blocking a specific spot, because you might have very possibly have wanted that spot that he's going to be blocking on the next turn. So you have to adjust your plan. Again, react to what's going on, not just your opponent, but in-game things as well. Ease of play. Is the game fiddly? Are there any extraneous rules? Is it fairly easy to teach? I think this game is fairly intuitive. I like the idea of the mechanical implications of 2 workers meeting on a card and you getting that as well. And I think while you cannot use the theme to teach the game, the mechanisms are implicitly straightforward. Gather goods, use those goods to gather points. Whether that be on cards, that you play out in your tableau, those tribes, or buying them up from the locations you can send workers, or etc. And lastly, tactics and strategies. The game Too Lucky, does it feel balanced? Are there interesting choices in there? I think this is really where the game shines at the end of the day. Out of all of these categories, this game is just packed with tactical and strategic choices. You have long-term plans as to which symbols you go for maximum scoring, powers you take and maximize throughout the game. And on top of that, reacting to what's going on. As I said, your opponent might go somewhere where they block you from a row or column you were hoping to take because you wanted to line up your 2 pawns on a card you're hoping to pluck from the center. There's a couple of ways to respond to that, right? And the way you do so, that's tactically rich. The choices the game affords you. So overall, I really like this game. I've liked this game for a long time. I'm very happy to see it back in print. I think it's one of the strongest offerings out there, not just for 2 players, but for worker placement games. It's mechanically robust. It is engaging. The turns are fairly quick. The manipulation of what's going on is intuitive. There's not a lot of jumping through hoops to understand or get to victory points. So overall, for me, I think this is fantastic. I would definitely recommend, if you like worker placement games, if you just like 2-player games with a little bit of a bite to them, a good amount of choices packed into it, then Targi is for you. This one gets a seal of excellence from me. Definitely recommend you go and pick up a copy, folks, if you haven't played it. I think you are going to have a great time with this one. So that's it for me. Thanks for checking this out. I'll see you on the next one.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com.